Welcome to the Stokastic MLB DFS Strategy Show. I'm your host, Neil Orfield. You can find me on Twitter at PlayerQDFS. I'm here with Adam Scherer. You can find him on Twitter at ShipMyMoneyDFS. And this show is sponsored by Sorare MLB, which is a collection of digital trading cards and an NFT-based free-to-play baseball game. We will talk more about Sorare later on. While you guys are coming in, please do like the video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and hit that notification button so you can get alerts when our shows go live. I should also remind you guys, if you are not yet aware of the Stokastic Hall of Fame, you can join by signing up. Go get the avatar. Go to stokastic.com/avatar to get the Stokastic avatar, then add that to your FanDuel or DraftKings accounts, then placing the top 3 of a contest with over 5,000 contestants. Tweet the win at Stokastic HOF if you have Twitter, or if you don't have Twitter, you can just email us with the screenshot and you can win a free month of Stokastic plus Platinum. And of course, you'll be on Lofty's stream. He streams the Stokastic Hall of Fame, I think daily or just about daily, almost every day at least. So really cool to get in there. You can get a shout out from Lofty. Make sure you check that out. Adam, how are you doing today?
Doing pretty well. Should be a fun day of sports, so looking forward to it.
Yeah, definitely. I was saying in chat that yes, I'm my allergies kicking my ass. This morning was rough. I'm loaded up on drugs now, feeling better than I was when I woke up. So starting to feel better.
Doing these shows loaded up on drugs is the only way to do it.
It's really the best way to do these shows. Absolutely. Adam, I wanted to continue a conversation I was having with Greg yesterday. So Greg and I were talking about like how often you do laundry, and he was talking about how his dad packs for a trip. I'm curious, if you say you're going to Chicago, somewhere like where it's going to be cold, Chicago during the winter for 2 weeks, how many pairs of pants are you bringing?
2.
Okay. Me too. I think two is the right answer. And for me, it's going to be the pair of pants that I wear and then the backup pants in case I spill something on my actual pants that I'm going to wear.
Right. Yeah, I'm going to have a pair of like dark jeans, a pair of light jeans, and I can wear whichever one I feel like wearing.
Yeah. I think that's the right answer. How often do you wear, if you're wearing, I guess you don't really wear like flannels like I do. So maybe it's like different shirts. I have different answers for this, but like how often will you rewear a winter shirt before you wash it?
In public or like around my house?
Probably something that you will wear out in public. Like, do you have different going out clothes and staying in clothes?
Yeah.
Okay.
But I mean, I'm definitely guilty often of, well, it doesn't look dirty, so it's clean. But also I'm really like if I'm going out, I will do laundry specifically because I know I'm going out in a couple of hours, and then it'll just sit in my dryer, and then whenever I need a shirt, I have to just rerun the dryer to like get the wrinkles out. But yeah, so it kind of depends on like I ended up not going out yesterday, but the shirt that I was going to wear if I did go out was not clean, but it wasn't dirty. And so I had just thrown it through the dryer to like de-wrinkle it. But
yeah,
we were going to just, pretend it had been washed.
Not dirty is my only objective. Like I smell the armpits. If the armpits smell fine, then it's good. It's a fine shirt. As long as there's not like spills on it or anything, obviously. Yeah, so it sounded like chat thinks that I'm an old dirty bastard based on a conversation with Greg yesterday, but I feel a little bit better. Like it doesn't sound like you wash like
constantly.
You
shouldn't feel better based on my standards.
Also true, I suppose. But yeah, I'm like my flannels, I'll wear them several times before I wash a flannel. I'm like, it doesn't smell. Like I guess I bathe kind of frequently, so that might be part of it. But yeah, based on my conversation with Greg, I was like, and chat, I was like, man, people apparently wash their clothes a lot more often than I do.
Greg does kind of just strike me as like sort of probably like OCD with cleanliness.
I could see that. Yeah, absolutely. That might be the case. All right. Enough about that. I just want to hear Adam's. I thought Adam's probably more similar. I feel like in a lot of ways Adam is more similar to me, so I wanted to make Adam make me feel better.
If you ever need to feel better about how often you clean, do laundry, any of that stuff, just ask me how often I do mine.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah, and SGT says no smells, no spills, good to go. Exactly. Yep. That's all I'm saying.
And also hoodies just don't get dirty.
Yeah. Demetrius says, can you post the video you did for MLB? You did solo on April 1st. I think it was the first Saturday. So Adam is actually going to be out on Wednesday. So I will be doing a solo stream on Wednesday. Oh yeah, Demetrius, I will try to find that for you and send it to you on Twitter. But also I'll be doing a solo stream on Wednesday. So I think most people are going to be disappointed, but for the few of you who like to see my process when I show you what I'm doing, I'm going to be doing that on Wednesday. I'll show you, the tools that I'm looking at on Wednesday. So we'll do one more of those solo streams because Adam is taking a day off on Wednesday. So yeah, if you like the solo stream, if you want to kind of see behind what I'm doing, I will be doing that on Wednesday once again. But today we have 2 slates to get through, Adam. We've got the early slate is just 4 games, and then we have an 8-game evening slate. And we will
ideally, I end up joining you on that show because the only reason I'm taking off on Wednesday is jury duty. But I doubt that I get lucky enough to not have to go show up.
I did not realize that it was jury. I thought you were just taking like a nice vacation day. Okay, cool. Well then, yeah,
I would rather be working.
Yeah, that sounds awful to me. Jury I've never had jury duty somehow. So
this would be my first time, and I told my dad, I was like, it's a sign of how bad things have gone DFS wise recently. Cause like, it says if you like ignored this notice, we can fine you up to $1,000. Like a year ago, I'd have been like, wait, so I can just pay $1,000 and not show up to this.
Right.
But,
I would absolutely do that.
Yeah. But now it's just like, yeah, I guess I should just go.
I'm also I'm fairly claustrophobic, and I imagine I would feel claustrophobic in a jury box, just like it's all you're so tight in there, packed in together. So I might be able to get out of it with a legitimate excuse that I am fairly claustrophobic in those kind of settings. So hopefully I can get out of it if I ever do get the call for jury duty. Anyway, moving on. First game of the slate, or sorry, first slate. We're doing the early slate. It is 4 games, and we'll start with Detroit at St. Louis. We have Spencer Turnbull on the mound for the Tigers, Adam Wainwright for the Cardinals. Adam, any interest in these pitchers?
Not particularly. Turnbull, not a very good strikeout pitcher. Does a decent job of limiting power. He's 5,400. It's a 4-game slate. Like if you just need a low-owned cheap pitcher, fine. But not something I'd be going out of my way to get to. 12% chance of being a top 2 pitcher, 6% ownership. So, again, you can argue that he's under-owned, but he's the lowest probability play on the slate. For Wainwright, pretty solid matchup for him, 8,300. He's pulling 33% ownership, 32% chance of being a top 2 pitcher. If this were a bigger slate, I probably wouldn't be super interested, but this is just a 4-gamer. You don't have a ton in the way of good pitching, so I do think getting this Wainwright makes sense.
Okay. On this slate in particular, I'm just looking at a bunch of mediocre to bad pitchers for the most part. Will you be playing any bats against your pitcher? Would you if you're playing GPP?
Generally on 4-gamers, I'll let one hitter against my pitcher go.
Okay. Yeah, I'm not like I think I'm usually the same way. I'm not sure if I will on this slate just because it looks more likely that we're going to have pitchers that could get absolutely shelled. So I think on this slate maybe I won't. But yeah, sometimes I do on 4-gamers. All right, what about the bats in this Detroit St. Louis game?
I mean, so the Cardinals have been awful so far this year, but they still have pedigree in their lineup. You expect they're going to turn things around sooner than later. They are first by a hair in top stack percentage right now at 17%, 17.5% projected ownership. Like I said, Turnbull, not the worst as far as limiting power, but doesn't miss a lot of bats. You only have 8 offenses to choose from since the start of the 2021 season. Only a 115 expected ISO to righties, 156 to lefties, but sub 20% strikeout percentage to both sides of the plate. I don't mind, taking some shots at just getting to these cards bats, hoping they figure it out. They do have a 5.2 implied run total here. As far as the Tigers go in tournaments, I think they still look okay. They are the top value stack, 33.5% chance of being the top value, 12.5% ownership, 11% chance of being the top stack. So when you factor in the ownership, they look okay. This is Wainwright's first start of the year. He went 13 innings in 3 minor league rehab starts. You don't really know what you're getting with him. He's certainly old. There's at some point he's going to just really drop off. We haven't seen that yet. But when you look to the Tigers, you do have Riley Green, who's going to look pretty good. Baez, Nick Maton's cheap, hitting cleanup. Torkelson sucks, but he's cheap. Badu is cheap. You just have enough power in the middle of this order at really cheap price tags. I think they at least make some sense.
Okay. And then how would you rank the 4 sides of the game?
Wainwright, Cardinals, or I guess Cardinals, Wainwright, Tigers, Turnbull.
Okay. All right. Second game of the slate, we have Miami at Chicago Cubs. We've got Brian Hoeing on the mound for the Marlins, Drew Smyly for the Cubs. Any interest in these pitchers, Adam?
Smiley's coming in second in top 2 pitcher percentage at 33.5%, which speaks to the strength of the slate pitching wise. 27% ownership coming in to Smyly. He's not a bad pitcher. He's kind of just a guy and typically isn't going to be at the top of the top pitchers tool. But, that's what we're getting today. Since the start of last season, I can't find his name, but since the start of last season, a 21% strikeout percentage, or sorry, so far this year, a 21% strikeout percentage for Smiley. That's pretty much in line with what you've gotten from him in the past. He will give up power at times. Since the start of last season, 161 expected ISO to righty, 136 to lefties. So nothing too crazy overall. I don't feel good about him, but you don't really feel good about much pitching on this slate. So he looks fine. Brian Hoeing on the other side, 5,800, pulling 9% ownership. We had talked about him before his most recent start, where his minor league numbers are really weird because he basically just didn't get strikeouts. And then suddenly he started getting a lot of them. Last year, 17 starts, 18 total appearances, 94 innings pitched at AAA. Hoeing struck out 12% of hitters with a 5.71 FIP. This year, made 3 starts, 4 total appearances at AAA, 17 in the third innings pitched, struck out 29.9% of hitters with a 2.25 FIP. So I have no idea if or what this guy changed, but unless you got like the flukiest 3 starts ever, something changed and his strikeout stuff got better. But then he's come up to the majors, he's made 2 starts, and he's back to striking out guys 14.5% of the time. So long story short, I have no idea what to make of this guy. He's probably not good, but he also is probably better than his minor league numbers up until this point suggested. So not really looking to get to him on this slate. He's just kind of an interesting guy in that I have no idea like what to think of him going forward.
I mean, this slate seems like as good of a place to take a shot on him as any, right? Where he's getting 9% ownership and he's 5,800. Like, doesn't this seem like maybe a time to try to get ahead of it? I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I think he's comparable to Turnbull, where like
Okay.
he's going a little bit underowned. If you're playing a bunch of lineups and he just slides into one at low ownership and the cheap salary, sure. But I think it's still more likely that he's not very good.
Okay. With that in mind, how much interest do you have in the bats in this game?
Yeah, do have interest in the Cubs here. Second in top stack percentage, just behind the Cardinals. Getting less ownership than the Cardinals because they are a little bit more expensive. So 14% ownership coming in there. And like I said, we don't really know what to make of Hoeing, but most likely isn't very good. Very, very limited sample since coming up, since debuting last year. 287 expected ISO to lefties, 269 to righties. Again, that's only 263 pitches thrown to righties, 155 to lefties. So extremely small sample, but he has been getting hit hard so far. 426 expected WOBA to lefties, 416 to righties. So the Cubs do look pretty good here. It doesn't look like the winds should matter in this game. Looks like it's blowing right to left. But, Horner, Swanson, Happ, Suzuki, Bellinger, Mancini, Wisdom, they have enough power in this lineup that can do damage against this guy.
Okay. And then how would you rank the 4 sides of the game?
I guess Cubs 1, Smiley 2, Marlins 3, Hoeing 4.
Okay. All right. Third game of the slate, we have the Rockies at the Mets. Austin Gomber on the mound for the Rockies. Excuse me. Tyler McGill for the Mets. Any interest in these pitchers?
Yeah, McGill, I think, looks pretty good given the matchup against the Mets. He's only 8K, which is nice. Most recently pitched. Yeah, so I was thinking he'd been injured, but he hasn't. Most recently pitched May 1st through 87 pitches. He's thrown at least 80 pitches in every start this year. Hasn't gone north of 96. So reasonable workload, good matchup. $8,000 again, not a bad salary at all. He's coming in 5th in top 2 pitcher percentage, but there's a really big drop off after him. When you look at the top 5 guys, you have Rasmussen at the top at 38.5%. Then it drops down to Smiley at 33.5%. So McGill, even though he's 5th, 29% is still a pretty good chance, in line with pretty much anybody else on the slate. 44% ownership, projects to be the second highest owned pitcher. It's just, a little bit of a mispricing for him. He does have pretty decent stuff. So far this year, he's only struck out 17% of hitters, but going back to previous seasons, you've seen that strikeout stuff for him. So I do like getting him at 8K against Colorado.
Okay. And then what about the bats in this game?
The Mets are interesting going up against Gomber. Gomber is somebody that I tend to think is okay when he's not in cores, but still not a great pitcher by any stretch. The Mets, we know do have plenty of good bats in this lineup. 5.1 implied run total for them. So I do like getting to them a bit. Looking at the top stack stool, they're coming in 3rd, just behind the Cardinals and the Cubs. They are projected to be the highest owned of those 3 teams. They're projected to be the highest owned team on the slate. But that is also because they're a little bit cheaper than St. Louis and Chicago. 14.5% chance of being the top stack. The only hitter in this lineup on DraftKings north of 5K is Alonso. You have Marte, Lindor over 4K. Everybody else is sub 4K. So you're getting a team with a 5.1 implied run total that is mostly pretty cheap. Since the start of last year, 143 expected ISO to lefties for Gomber, but a 203 expected ISO to righties, 187 to righties since the start of 2021. I do like the upside the bets give you.
Okay, and how would you rank the four sides of the game?
McGill 1, Mets 2, Gomber 3, Rockies 4.
Arnold says I have indoor clothes and outdoor clothes. The indoor clothes aren't watched as much as the outdoor. I should probably do that. Indoor and outdoor clothes makes some sense to me. And then I like this comment. Jamie Moore says nothing will ever be nastier than Josh's hand washing habits. He just doesn't wash his hands. That's his habits, right? He just doesn't wash his hands.
Yeah, he just doesn't wash his hands.
Yeah, that is nasty. All right. Yankees at Rays. We have Domingo Germán on the mound for the Yankees, Drew Rasmussen for the Rays. Any interest in these pitchers?
Yeah, both pitchers are going to be pretty interesting here. In the case of Domingo Germán, he is going up against Tampa Bay. That is not ideal, but he's actually been solid this year. 28.9% strikeout percentage. I mean, that's solid is understating it if he's going to maintain that. But a 28.9% strikeout percentage, 3.63 xFIP, 4.7 FIP. He has had home run issues, allowing 1.8 home runs per 9. And clearly, when you're talking about Tampa Bay, that is scary given the amount of power and good bats they have in this lineup. But not the strongest pitching slate. He at least does give you some strikeout upside. He's 9K. So we have him coming in fourth in top 2 pitcher percentage, right in line with his ownership. 29% chance of being top 2, 29% ownership. On the other side, Rasmussen is interesting because he's a good real life pitcher. He's not a great strikeout pitcher, but we have seen, at least so far this year, his strikeout stuff trend up a bit. He's up to a 25.5% strikeout percentage, 2.98 FIP. You're paying for his ability to limit runs more so than his ability to get strikeouts. But on this slate, that is perfectly fine. He's the top projected pitcher on the slate. The Yankees still have a watered down lineup without Judge, Donaldson, Stanton. So, it's not a cakewalk, but 3.3 implied run total for the Yankees. Rasmussen looks like the top pitcher on the slate.
Okay. Kickstart, which is actually Kickstart. No, there's not an I, it's an L. Says Steve probably been wearing the same shirt for weeks now. Yeah, I would be if I were Steve. Like, why ever change out of that shirt? I don't know if you won anything last night. I'm not sure I saw Steve's name anywhere. Did you? Eddie won last night? Did he really?
Eddie won baseball, yeah.
I totally missed that. Of course, Eddie won last night. Man, people just absolutely crushing.
I need to switch from the content team to the data team because I don't know what those.
The data team knows what they're doing. Yeah. They're doing a lot better than us lately. All right. Any interest in the bats, Yankees or Rays?
Some interest in Tampa. I did mention, Domingo Germán has struggled with power so far this year. The strikeout stuff's been really good, but you are talking about a pitcher that, we've really seen volatility over the last few years. He had shown signs of being a very good pitcher. Then he got suspended. He got hurt. Hasn't consistently had it since coming back. So, maybe he's fully healthy now. Maybe he's good, and you're going to continue to see the very good strikeout stuff from him, but has still had the power issues. Tampa Bay just is ridiculous offensively this year, and never mind getting to them, in tournaments. I was thinking the other day, like if you just every single slate that you can, if you just stack the Rays, the Orioles, and the Dodgers, you're probably just like cleaning up all season long, or at least to this point. And they're not getting quite as much ownership as some other spots. 10% projected ownership coming into Tampa. They are third from the bottom in top stack percentage, but kind of like with pitching, there's not a big gap between them and the top. The top stack percentage is St. Louis at 17%. The bottom is the Yankees at 7%. So Tampa Bay coming in at 10% is just sort of, right there in the middle. But they're not getting nearly as much ownership as they're getting like half the ownership of the Mets, the Cardinals, a little bit more than half the ownership of the Cubs. But I do like the upside that they give you just, given how good this lineup is.
Okay. And then how would you rank the four sides of this game?
Rasmussen 1, I guess Germán 2, Tampa 3, Yankees 4.
Corey Williams says, I have known Hoeing all my life. Even though his numbers might not suggest it, he's actually a really good pitcher and keeps the ball relatively low and on the ground.
Yeah, I mean, in terms of like pitching, he's certainly a very good pitcher. He's in the major leagues. Like compared to major leaguers, he's not likely to be particularly good.
Right. Yeah, it's a different league now playing with the major leaguers, but yeah, hopefully it pans out. I mean, that's very promising that he had at least that 3-game stretch where he was dominant.
I'm really, I'll say I'm really just interested because, like, it's one thing to see somebody's strikeout rate, sort of increase, a little bit over a few games. It's like, okay, whatever, it was 3 games or 4 games. But to see somebody jump from striking out, so he was striking out 4.7 hitters per 9 at AAA last year, 10.4 this year. Like, that's not a normal
No,
jump.
especially over
And
3 games.
Right. And even going back to like the lower levels of the minors, he struck out 9 per 9 at Double A in 2022, but that was only in 4 starts. At High A in 2021, 7.1. Like, the guy has never shown, outside of the 4-game stretch at Double A in 2022, he's never been above a 20% K percentage in the minors until this year, where he's striking out 30, and he's not walking guys. So I am at least intrigued to see what that translates to.
Right. Yeah.
It's just really it's tough because normally, when you get somebody that comes up, you can look at Steamer or Zips or the bat projections and get, like a good feel what you should expect for them. But it's more difficult here because any good projection model is going to be heavily regressing, to previous year's data. And
Right.
so they're all projecting him to just not be a strikeout guy. And it's like, well, something definitely changed. I don't know how well it's going to translate, but you can't necessarily there's a good chance that this just isn't the same pitcher that is being projected.
Right. It sounds like he's just a very difficult pitcher to project. Like, it's just, which to me is like on a 4-game slate. If a pitcher is really hard to project, not getting much ownership, I think it sounds like I'm more willing to take some shots on him today than you are.
Yeah, I mean, I'm willing. It's more like I just doubt that I end up getting there, but like not taking
Yeah.
him out of my player pool or anything.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Corey says, plus taking into consideration that his first major league start last year was on less than 12 hours notice, flying from Florida to LA to play at Dodger Stadium, and his last start against the Braves. Yeah, he's had a difficult, tall orders here for sure. Tall tasks, as Corey says. Absolutely. And then I also want to point out, Jake Swell says, I hate getting to the Cardinals until they start turning it around. Yeah, I hear you, but also, like, you got to get ahead of this stuff sometimes. Like, this is when you're going to get them at lower ownership.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that's one of those. You can't, I mean, this particular conversation goes back to like the whole thing about hot streaks and cold streaks and all of that. You don't know when it's going to stop, when it's going to turn around, but if you wait to see it happen, you just missed out on the day that you could have made a bunch of money.
Yeah.
That, it's not like a team doing well yesterday is indicative that they're going to do well today. So all you're doing, if you're just waiting to see it happen, is saying like, this team's going to win people money at some point. I'm not going to be there because I'm going to wait and see it happen. Then I'm going to start playing them, and they could just as easily still be awful for the next
Right.
stretch. Like, yeah, it's
Yeah. You want to get ahead of that kind of thing. I'd say in general, like, if you think a team or a player is going to turn it around, going to regress, like they're just having some bad luck, yeah, I'd say that's when you want to jump on them. You don't want to wait for their luck to turn around or whatever's going on, whether you want to call it luck or something else. You want to get on it before they turn it around.
it is pretty crazy. They've lost every series opener this year,
Yeah, it's nuts how
and the
bad
Orioles have
they've
won every series opener this year.
really. Yeah,
Yeah, yep,
Orioles,
11
they're
straight.
they're doing it. They're doing it right now. By the way, I see you're wearing your Washington Commanders shirt. I just saw that the Commanders are all in on Howell. How you feel about that?
I mean, I think they should have done that last year so that they weren't wasting this year potentially.
Yeah,
I mean, it's fine. Like, if they'd been able to get a better quarterback, sure, but I'm fine going with him and seeing what he has. My huge issue last year was that you knew Taylor Heineke isn't going to like win you playoff games.
right,
There's a higher ceiling going to Sam Howell, and also if you go to Howell last year and it ends up he sucks, one, you're getting a better draft pick this year, and two, you can address quarterback this year. Whereas
right,
now it's like, well, we didn't actually play him outside of the final game of the year where we weren't going to play him and Taylor Heineke benched himself. And so now it's like, well, we have a bunch of talent around him, and now we're going to find out that he's not a good quarterback, and we're back at square one.
right. Yeah, I agree. They should have just taken that chance last year, but good to see them committing to him. Do you remember off the top of your head what round he was drafted in?
Fourth or fifth, I think
Man.
fifth.
Okay, so he wasn't.
But he was like, he fell. Like, he was one of those where like immediately after the draft, a lot of people were like, yeah, I have no idea how he didn't go in like the third round.
Interesting. Yeah, it'll be fun to see how he does for those receivers in Washington. All right, we have made it to the end of the 4-game slate. Adam, let's talk about if you're playing 3 stacks, which 3 stacks you going to?
Probably Cards, Cubs, and I like Tampa at their ownership. Like that would be the contrarian team I like.
Sorry, Cards who in Tampa?
Cards, Cubs, Tampa.
Cards, Cubs, Tampa. And then 3 favorite pitchers.
Rasmussen, McGill, and one of Smiley, Wainwright, or Herman. I guess Smiley, but you can make very similar cases for and against any of those guys. I think Rasmussen and McGill are clearly the top 2.
All right, and then home run pick.
Nolan Gorman.
I like that.
Actually, I'll take Alonso.
Who do I want? I'm going to go Jorge Soler.
All right, I like it.
In Wrigley. All right, let's move on to the night slate 8-gamer. Before we do jump into the night slate, though, I do want to talk a little bit about our sponsor, Sorare. I'll pull up how my Sorare MLB is going. It's not great. It's not great how it's going for me so far this week. Have not a lot of success early on here. Of course, Sorare, this is NFT based way to play. So you buy these cards. As you can see, these are all cards that I've bought. These are the limited cards. You buy those cards, you can use them for the length of a player's career. It's a new way to play fantasy sports. I find it to be a lot of fun. NBA going much better for me than MLB. So far, have not quite picked up on how to win at MLB, or at least I have not started winning. I've actually heard from some Sorare MLB vets that my lineups are actually pretty good. Like I'm doing a good job putting these together. But they have so far, I've only won the one prize. Man, my voice is
So you play Sorare like I play DFS. Put together good lineups, have people tell you that they're good.
Right. Nice lineup there. Nice lineup there, buddy. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. I'm refreshing because I don't think you can see my screen right now. But yeah, not off to the best start here, but we'll turn it around. I'm confident. I refresh and I'm still on my screen. At least I'm not seeing it. So I don't know if you guys can actually see my Sorare right now. But make sure you do check it out. It is really fun way to play fantasy sports. I just put a link in the description. And again, I've said this, I've been saying this week. You can play for free. Like if you don't have to spend money to play these contests that I'm playing, these limited contests with these limited cards. You have to pay for these, but they have common cards as well that when you sign up, you get to choose from. Like they give you a list of cards you can choose from at each position. You choose your favorite cards at each position, and then you can enter that right away in free contests. And you can, those cards also, you have them for the length of the player's career. You can play them forever. So it's really cool way to play. You get those free cards. You can enter the free contests, and you can see here, I'll show you these are the free contests here, these 3 common contests, and some of them you can win good cards. So you can in this minors contest you can win 200 limited cards for the top 200, and then they also have some more common cards that you can win, and the same thing, common all-star 100, and these are cards that are worth money. You can sell them on the secondary market. So playing for free, you just sign up for free. You can dip your toes in, kind of decide if you like it, and potentially win some cards that are worth money. So check it out for sure. It's a really fun way to play. I like playing the limited contest, but if you're not sold yet, you can just jump into some of these common contests, and they are a lot of fun as well. Or at least I imagine they are, Adam. I have not really been playing them because once again, I made horrible selections when I started. So my cards are not that good. With that in mind, I can do another card swap now. Oh no, I can't. I can't swap for another 55 minutes. I forgot we're doing an early show. They give you a 24-hour waiting period. So sadly, I can't go in and swap out some of my common cards, but you can do those every 24 hours. So if you, like me, make some bad selections to start, you can go back and swap out some of your cards later on. But yeah, check out Sorare. Really fun way to play fantasy baseball. All right, Adam, I'm going to get back to the second MLB slate that we need to talk about here, the evening slate, 8 games here. Do you have any overarching thoughts on this slate?
No.
Okay.
Perfect. Other than Spencer Strider's pitching.
Spencer Strider is pitching. All right. Well, that's going to be good for my Sorare lineup at least.
Yeah. I don't know how many facing the O's. He might suck.
Oh, that's right. He's facing best team in baseball. Are you calling them the best team in baseball?
Non-Tampa division.
Interesting. And they're in the same division, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So that's unfortunate.
I believe the entire AL East right now is above 500.
Is it just those 4? Yankees, Red Sox, Tampa, Baltimore?
Toronto.
That's right. Yeah, that's a damn good division. All right.
The Yankees are in last place. They are 1 game over 500.
Yeah, and that's when the Yankees are in last place in your division, that
Yeah.
is a stacked division. That's a little bit unfair.
Blue Jays are in fourth. They're 5 games over. The Blue Jays have the same record as the Twins, who are winning the Central by 4 games.
Nice. I did not realize the Twins were winning by 4 games. I did not realize that they were
Yeah,
dominating the
Detroit's in
Central.
second, 3 games under 500. Minnesota's 5 games over.
Yeah, I guess it's a really bad division.
It is an awful division.
So good for the Twins though. All right. First game of this 8-game evening slate, we have the A's at the Royals. Ken Waldachuk on the mound for the A's, Brady Singer for the Royals. Any interest in these pitchers, Adam?
Some interest in Singer. That probably doesn't surprise anybody, but good matchup against Oakland. 13% ownership, 11% chance of being a top 2 pitcher. Only $7,000 on DraftKings, so pretty fair price tag for him. 21.8% strikeout percentage so far this year, but talented pitcher, former first round pick, has good stuff. He's facing a fake major league team in a good pitcher's park. I certainly don't mind getting to him. So far this year, 25.5% strikeout percentage to lefties, only 16% to righties. That is in line with the trend that we've seen since last year, where he's only struck out 19% of righties compared to 28% of lefties. But at 7K, it's you only need so much. So I do like getting to him. Not particularly interested in getting to Waldachuk.
I want to ask you this question that Arnold has asked, because it's an interesting one that I don't think I have a strong opinion on. My guess is not much, but Arnold says, Neil or Adam, how much stock do you place in a team's strikeout numbers, home versus away? So I assume he's talking about batters. Maybe I'm wrong about that. Do you mean
I assume
batters,
you mean
Arnold?
batters.
Yeah.
Not a lot.
Yeah, it seems like it should regress to being, about the same.
Yeah, I mean, there are at times exceptions. I mean, like obviously Colorado, you expect
Right.
a big gap. I mean, like parks have like strikeout park factors, so like that's gonna matter. The individual, that, but it's not like for the most part you expect somebody to just strike out way more out, away from home, out, unless you're on the Rockies. There are there at times have been home road splits that were certainly real, like from a team standpoint, because the Blue Jays for a long time got away with cheating in Toronto. The
Right.
Yankees, you'll have teams that figure out ways to steal signs at home, and Cleveland was always one that had massive home road splits. And there were a lot of rumors that uh, there were like people relaying signs from somewhere. So
Hmm.
you'll see that occasionally, but typically, barring Coors Field and a team blatantly cheating, I don't expect it to change too much.
Yeah, I wouldn't expect it to either. Yeah, Coors Field just because of the air, but like everywhere else, it's like, well, it's the same. Like from the mound to home plate, like the stadium
Right.
doesn't
I mean,
really matter.
you get different batter's eyes,
Sure,
different
true.
views, but yeah, generally it's not going to be too different.
Yeah. Okay. Um. All right. Oops.
Oh, Oakland, you expect to strike out a little bit less as well because you can hit the ball 800 feet foul and it still gets caught.
Oh, right. Okay. Um. Bats in this game. Any interest in Oakland or Kansas City bats?
Some interesting KC. Waldachuk hasn't put it together at the major league level yet. You have a 6-run implied total for KC. Um, Holy shit, it's 90 degrees in Kansas City.
Ooh.
So
We got some
I still
batters
like
weather.
I still like Singer, but that does make it look less appealing. I I hadn't looked till just now to see that the total in this game was 10.5. And I was just like, Oakland has a 4.5 implied run total here. Like, why? And then I saw the weather. So looks like wind blowing out and 90 degrees in KC.
Yeah. Take that.
Yeah, so still like KC, obviously. 6 implied run total. You have Witt at the top of the order, Olivares, Pasquantino, Perez. These guys are all solid enough, especially Witt, Pasquantino, Perez are all good. The rest of the order is less exciting, but still plenty of upside there. On the Oakland side, I do like them more now than I thought I was going to 2 minutes ago. Singer isn't a bad pitcher, like I said, but Brent Rooker has been crushing the ball, homered again yesterday. He looks pretty good at 3,700. You have a cheap Noda probably hitting second. JJ Bleday's in there at a cheap price tag, former first round pick. There's actually stuff to like at the top of the Oakland order. Ruiz is incredibly fast. He's going to steal if he gets on base. Noda, Rooker, Laureano, Bleday, Langoliers. These guys actually all can hit at least a little bit. So I like the KC side more. I am still interested in Singer at his price tag, but Oakland looks like a pretty solid stack as well, given the weather. We have KC first in top stack percentage at 13%, Oakland second at 8.5.
Wow. Okay. Sounds like a
KC getting double the ownership of Oakland.
difficult one to rank here for you. How do you
Yeah,
rank the four sides?
extremely. Kansas City, I guess Oakland and then Singer and then Waldichuk.
Okay. San Marcos says, why is Mervis not showing up? Yeah, he's just not in the player pool.
They've been really bad so far this year at having guys in the player pool when they should.
Or like putting guys at 2,000 when they're Fernando Tatis.
Yep. Grayson
Ra-
Rodriguez, 4K flat.
That's right. Rance asks, what is the best early slate bat stack on FanDuel? Do you have a different opinion there for FanDuel?
Probably not, but I'll double check. I mean, like in terms of likelihood of success, it's not going to change too much.
Right.
Obviously, ownership and everything changes, but no, it looks pretty much the same. You have Chicago, St. Louis, New York at the top in terms of top stack percentage. Ownership pretty much flat on those three. Tampa Bay going a bit under-owned, just like on DraftKings.
Okay. Yeah. Very, very similar. Yeah. Those three stand out. Like as there's a big gap between those three in terms of top stack odds.
It looked pretty much the same. Where like in terms of chances of success, go to one of those three. If you're looking to be more contrarian, Tampa Bay is the one that looks the best to me on either side.
Okay. Perfect. All right. Moving on to Boston at Philadelphia. Corey Kluber on the mound for the Red Sox. Bailey Falter for the Phillies. Any interest in these pitchers, Adam?
Not particularly. Falter's pulling a little bit of ownership at 5%, 7,500, but not somebody I'm targeting. If he lands in a lineup here or there, fine. But not looking to get there. And then on the other side, Kluber 6,300, 1% owned. Just not a particularly good strikeout pitcher anymore. Not the best matchup against the Phillies. So far this year, 20.6% strikeout percentage, 5.4 xFIP, 6.5 FIP, 2.5 home runs per 9 for Kluber. Tough sell.
Okay. With that in mind, then bats in Philly. How do you like it?
Yeah, I do like the bats here. On the Philly side, I think that's the side you're going to prefer. You have Harper back. That makes this lineup a lot easier to get to. Schwarber, Turner, Harper, Castellanos. Then you get Stott, Real Muto, Marsh, all decent options. So the lineup just does get that much more appealing with Harper back. Like I said, Kluber has been really, really bad this year at limiting anything. 255 expected ISO to lefties, 272 to righties, 359 expected wOBA to righties, 360 to lefties. Obviously small sample and he can turn things around, but this is another pitcher that is very much over the hill, and it's just a matter of time until he's not pitching in the major leagues anymore. So going back to last year, 176 expected ISO to lefties, 172 to righties. It's not like he was lights out last year either, but he has really struggled this year. So I like getting to the power bats for Philadelphia. On the other side for the Red Sox, still a good hitter's park. You don't have a lot of right-handed power in this lineup, which isn't ideal in this spot. But Kike Hernandez, Justin Turner look decent. Certainly prefer the Philly side, though.
All right. How would you rank the four sides of the game?
Philly, Red Sox, Falter, Kluber.
Phillies, Red Sox, Falter. Yeah, that sounds perfect. All right. Next game, we have your Orioles against Spencer Strider. Really interesting matchup here. Before we talk about that game, though, I do want to tell you guys about the great deal that we have going on with BetMGM. Same deal we've had going on all week, of course. You can get 1 free month of Stokastic Plus Platinum and your first bet covered up to $1,000 paid back in bet credits when you sign up, make a deposit, and make your first paid wager at BetMGM. So if you're in a state that allows sports betting, you're not yet signed up for BetMGM, honestly, you're not going to find a better deal out there than what we have going on right now, because it's 2 great deals in one. You get this, your first bet covered up to $1,000. So again, if you make a bet for $1,000 and it doesn't hit, you're going to get $1,000 paid back in bet credits. They're going to give you $1,000 back in bet credits. If you don't want to put $1,000 and you just want to put $20 in, they're going to cover you back $20 in bet credits. Of course, if you win the bet, you're just going to win all that money. It's a great deal there. And then on top of that, you get a free month Stokastic Plus Platinum. So make sure that you are taking advantage of this offer if you're in a state where BetMGM is offered and you have not yet signed up. Just use promo code PlatinumSub when you sign up, or use the link in the description of this video. Of course, legal age for gambling in most states is 21 plus. And if you or someone you know has a gambling problem, call or text 1-800-GAMBLER. All right. Now we can talk about your Orioles, Adam, going up against Spencer Strider. Really interesting one here. We've got Kyle Bradish on the mound for the Orioles, Spencer Strider for Atlanta. What's your level of interest in these pitchers?
Extremely high in Strider. He's pulling 61% ownership at 11.5 on DraftKings. Just insane ownership, but 43% chance of being a top 2 scoring pitcher. He's 3 times more likely than any other pitcher on the slate to be in the top 2. So, again, just on another planet in terms of what he brings compared to everybody else. It's him, DeGrom, and then the rest of the major leagues, basically.
Yeah.
So, you're finally paying a premium for him. You're not getting him at 9,500 or whatever he was earlier in the year, but he's continuing to just strike guys out at a ridiculous clip. So far this year, 41% strikeout percentage, 2.2 FIP, just really, really, really good pitcher, great strikeout stuff. So happy to get there. More difficult to get to Kyle Bradish on the other side. He does have decent stuff. He is only 7,200, but really tough matchup with the Braves. I think that there's other guys in this price range that you would get to first.
Okay, we need to revisit the early slate just for a second, Adam, because Hoeing was scratched. Matt Barnes is now starting for the Marlins. Does this change anything for you now that we have? I mean, you didn't sound like you were all that interested in playing Hoeing. Do you think you'll have any interest in playing Matt Barnes here? Do you think it changes your level of interest in I forget who the Marlins are playing? Hang on, let's go back real quick.
Cubs.
Does it change your level of interest in the Cubs? Tell me if anything changes here for you.
Yeah, so I mean, I don't think you can play Barnes. He's a reliever. I wouldn't expect him to go deep into the game, but it probably makes it a little bit less appealing for the Cubs just because you're getting. So I haven't seen like what the actual reason was. Hoeing could just be following Barnes. I don't know. I haven't seen, but
they say he was scratched according to my notification here. Of course, I don't really know what. Maybe they just say that because he was replaced.
I saw that, but like I don't know if he was scratched, but I don't know if it's like, hey, we're actually going to just bring him in the third inning or what they're doing. But I still like the Cubs. It probably does look a little bit less appealing just because it's more of a bullpen game now.
Okay. Yeah, that's I guess terminology scratch to me means that they're not going to play. You take it differently, just means he's not starting.
No, I mean that's how I take it too, but that was also written by not Marlins.
Good point. Okay. All right. I just wanted to step back into that. So guys, do not play Hoeing. You can't play Hoeing. Probably don't play Barnes either. All right, back to the night slate. Hang on, give me 1 second here. So yeah, we were talking about did you cover these pitchers to your satisfaction, Baltimore versus Atlanta?
Yeah, I don't think there's a ton to say. Spencer Strider's just insane.
Okay. How about the bats? Any interest in the bats here?
Some interest in the Braves. Bradish is fine, but the Braves offense also really good. 165 expected ISO to righties since last year for Bradish, 126 to lefties. Sub 100 to righties so far this year, 185 to lefties. He's a pretty solid pitcher when he's on, but still young, still not super consistent. And the Braves just have so much power in their lineup. So they do look like a pretty solid stack here. They're fourth in top stack percentage at 7%, 6% ownership. So I like them. Baltimore, I have no interest in. I also had no interest in them yesterday against Fried, and I think they scored like 9 runs because that's just what they do. But I won't be getting to them against Strider either.
Adam, I'm getting trolled on Twitter by Fantasy Guru Drew because I always, every time I post a card, I get 5 out of 6. And like, it's like, oh, great. I double my money. Last night I did once again, my prize picks card, everything, like all of my overs had hit and I had only one under on the card, which is a rare thing, but all the sharpest plays yesterday seemed to be overs. My one under was 8 rebounds for Kevin Durant. So it was just like, please. And of course, Kevin Durant got to 9 rebounds. I think he had 2 like in the last 3 minutes and killed me. So I got 5 out of 6 again. And Fantasy Guru Drew just keeps on trolling me. He says, oh, you'll make a lot more money if you get 6 out of 6 instead of 5 out of 6. I'm like, yeah, asshole. All right. Next up, how would you rank the 4 sides of this game?
Strider, Braves, Bradish, Orioles.
Okay. Milwaukee at San Francisco. We have Colin Rea on the mound for the Brewers, Alex Cobb for the Giants. Any interest in these pitchers?
Yeah, Cobb in particular. 9K is a pretty healthy price tag, but good park to pitch in, solid pitcher, pulling 21% ownership, 13% chance of being a top 2 pitcher, 6.5% top 2 value percentage. So again, not the best value, but does project as one of the better pitching options here. Decent matchup against the Brewers. I'm not really looking to get the Rea on the other side.
Okay. What about the bats?
Giants bats look okay. Rea is somebody we've talked about before where it's still really tough to know exactly what to make of him because he's bounced around so much. He spent a few years in Japan. Now he's back. So far this year, 206 expected ISO to lefties, 183 to righties. My assumption is that he's not going to be very good. That's been backed up in a limited sample so far. So do have some interest in the Giants bats. Wade, Jock Peterson, Haniger, Conforto, JD Davis. These guys all have power. So Giants look pretty good. Not particularly interested in the Brewers side. Cobb is a really good pitcher. I think he gets slept on in terms of, people not totally realizing how good he is, but 110 expected ISO to righties, 108 to lefties since the start of last season. Not elite strikeout stuff, but not a guy I really want to take bats against.
All the names of the pitchers in San Francisco are too similar. Maybe that's it. Logan Webb, Alex Cobb. There's another one like they're all like 4 letters with a double letter in there. It's
I
so
always get
maybe
Webb.
that's the issue.
I get Webb mixed up with somebody else there, like in my head, and I can't put my finger on who it is.
I was thinking like there's 3 of them that to me I always let's see. We got Logan Webb, Alex Cobb. I thought there's one more that's 4 letters and a similar kind of name, but maybe I'm wrong. Anyway, we don't need to, I guess, get into that unless if somebody thinks of it. Alex Wood, it is Alex Wood. That is the other one. Yeah, those 3, just the names are a little bit too similar for me. All right. How would you rank the 4 sides of this game?
Cobb 1, Giants 2, Brewers 3, Ray 4.
Okay. Washington at Arizona. We have Mackenzie Gore on the mound for the Nationals, Tommy Henry for the D-backs. Any interest in these pitchers, Adam?
I have some interest in Gore just from a strikeout standpoint. It's not the strongest pitching slate. It's not the best matchup against Arizona, but he's only pulling 6% ownership with a 14% chance of being a top 2 pitcher. Right now, we actually have Mackenzie Gore with a higher chance of being a top 2 pitcher than Alex Cobb for $300 less and 1/4 the ownership. So, maybe that changes, the projection, but right now Gore looks like a fantastic tournament play. Does walk too many guys. He's still young. He's inconsistent, but he is talented. He has struck out 29.5% of hitters so far this year. That's obviously the plus. He's walked 13.5%. That's a problem. But if he's gonna be 5% owned, then you're gonna have 20% coming into pitchers that look very, very similar. I do like him in tournaments, even though it is a scary matchup. Arizona does have a nearly 5 implied run total.
Okay. Charlie asked, Neil, how do you play Superflex on Underdog? I think that's what he's asking. And I don't. I've never actually played Best Ball Superflex. Seems less interesting to me. Yeah.
Just
you've never played. What do you say?
I said I've never played it, but just move your quarterbacks up the rankings.
Yeah, which I think everybody does. So like I think you have to get your quarterbacks early because everybody's moving the quarterbacks up. So yeah, that would be my approach. But yeah, I've never actually done it, so I can't give any like great thoughts on how to do it. All right, I just refreshed my fantasy cruncher because we got some more lineups. So give me 1 second here. Taking a minute to load. All right. Give me 1 more second because I don't know what just happened. Apparently, I just closed it. And then Ryan Greenbaum asked, top stack and pitcher, FanDuel single entry, less than 5,000 entries. Sorry, joining late. Ryan, are you talking about the early slate? Because the early slate, it would be, what do we say? St. Louis, Tampa, and who is the, do you remember who the third stack was?
So basically at the top, St. Louis, the Cubs, and the Mets.
That's right.
All are comparable in terms of ownership and chances of success. Tampa Bay looked like the best contrarian team.
Okay. Right. Okay.
Main slate.
Oh, you meant for the main slate? Yeah. We'll get there at the end of the show.
Yeah.
We'll go through over. Did you already talk about the bats in this Washington Arizona game?
No, I didn't. Okay. So the bats are somewhat interesting. The Washington side, you don't have the best hitters, but you do have a decent matchup against Tommy Henry. You can look, I think in particular, Alex Call is going to be cheap. Joey Meneses is cheap. Stone Garrett should be in the lineup. Keibert Ruiz is a cheap catcher option. You have Lane Thomas. There are some decent right-handed bats here. So 4.5 implied run total for the Nats. They do offer some value. They are middle of the pack in top stack percentage at 6.5%. But again, to put that in context, Oakland is third at 7%. So you just have basically Kansas City, Philly, and then like a bunch of teams all lumped together. And Washington is one of them. Arizona also one of them, just ahead of Washington. Not quite as valuable, also not quite as popular, but they both just look like decent, middle of the road stacks.
Sven Gunnarsson asked, this guy talk about his ass yet? Yeah, thank you for checking in. It's much better today. I'm not having any kind of spasms or anything. Totally recovered from my softball game. All right, how would you rank the 4 sides of this Washington Arizona game?
Um, so I guess Arizona 1, Nationals 2, Gore 3, Henry 4. But I will reiterate that right now, at least on DraftKings, Gore's ownership makes him look really interesting in tournaments.
Okay. Another interesting one. Dodgers at Padres. We have Dustin May on the mound for the Dodgers, Blake Snell for the Padres. Any interest in these pitchers?
Yeah, May and Snell both, solid arms, tough matchups. So I don't love either one, but we do have Blake Snell second in top two pitcher percentage at 18%, 28% projected ownership. He scares the hell out of me at 8,800 against a very good Dodgers lineup. The strikeouts can be there, but the control problems against a team that, is just good at hitting and can work counts does concern me. But outside of Strider, I guess there's reason to be somewhat concerned about every pitcher. So from that standpoint, he looks fine. On the other side, Dustin May, 8,200, only pulling 1% ownership, 7% chance of being a top two pitcher. Doesn't give you the same strikeout upside that Snell does. He's a good pitcher, but if you're going to one, I'd go to Snell. I think that at current ownership, I probably start getting to more of some of the other guys priced around him, though.
Okay. Adam Perry says leverage stack's pretty important with Strider 1,000,000% owned. Yeah, I mean you got to look at your lineup as well. He says if you're playing Strider, you got to be you'll be more inclined to play some leverage stacks. I think that's accurate. Like if you're playing the super chalk pitcher, yeah, you got to get a little bit more interesting with your bats.
Yeah, everything's kind of a sliding scale. Like normally when I go back and look at my exposures, it'll end up like I'm super concentrated on a few pitchers and spread out on hitters or vice versa. But it's within an individual lineup. It's typically going to be, if you have the popular pitching, you need less popular bats and vice versa.
Right. What about the bats in this game? Obviously not the best matchups necessarily, but any interest in Dodgers or Padres today?
Only in the sense that they are the Dodgers and Padres and they're not going to be popular. Dodgers pulling 3% aggregate ownership, Padres pulling 7. So yeah, I mean, nothing. I don't like targeting against either pitcher. I do think the Dodgers in particular are interesting just because they are 3% owned and maybe you get bad Blake Snell.
Okay. And then how would you rank the four sides?
I guess Snell, Padres, Dodgers, May.
Snell, Padres, Dodgers, May. Okay.
Yeah, but it's kind of all similar.
Right. All very similar. All good, like good arms, good bats. Everybody's good, but they're in tough matchups. Yeah. All right. Texas at the Angels. We have Nathan Eovaldi on the mound for the Rangers. Reed Detmers for the Angels. Any interest in these pitchers?
Yeah, not a good park to pitch in, but these guys are third and fourth in top two pitcher percentage. Nathan Eovaldi, 9,300, typically has a relatively long leash, can work, pretty deep in the games. That's been his thing for years. When he's not hurt, 17% top two pitcher percentage, 11% ownership. So coming in a little bit under owned, not the best matchup against the Angels. They have a 4.3 implied run total, but still just, a solid pitcher in Eovaldi. Detmers on the other side, also not a bad pitcher, highly regarded prospect, seems to be putting things together. 27% strikeout percentage so far this season. We have him projected for about 28% ownership. 15.5% chance of being a top two pitcher. So he looks good. He is another pitcher that appears to be getting a little bit more ownership than I would like. Like you look at him, you look at Snell, both pulling around 28% ownership. They're not that different than Eovaldi, Gore, Cobb, who are all in that price range and not as popular.
Okay. So just making sure. I don't believe we have a show right after this one, so we don't have to finish up in the next 3 minutes. It just occurred to me. I was like, oh shit. Sometimes we do on Saturdays, but I think we can go a little bit over. All right. How much interest do you have in the bats in this game?
Not a lot. Both pitchers are decent. It is a good hitter's park, so you have that working for you. From an ownership standpoint, Angels pulling 5% with a 5% chance of being the top stack. Texas pulling 3% with a 6% chance of being the top stack. So I guess from a tournament standpoint, Texas looks a little bit better than the Angels, even though the Angels are a little bit more likely to succeed.
Okay. And then how would you rank the four sides of the game?
I guess Detmers 1, Eovaldi 2, Texas, factoring in ownership, Texas 3 and Angels 4.
Okay.
All right. We just want chances of success, Angels 3, Texas 4.
Okay. Yeah, when you're factoring. Okay. Sounds good. We have just one final game to talk about. First, I do need to tell you guys we do have this promo code May Bundle deal still going on because of the absolute heater that Steve has been on. Eddie's on a heater. I mean, the whole team is just absolutely crushing the behind the scenes team, absolutely crushing everything. Steve, of course, was the inspiration for this, but maybe we'll do another promo for Eddie coming out. I don't know. It seems like we've just had so many heaters recently that are inspiring some promos. If you use promo code May Bundle when you sign up for a month or a week of Stokastic plus Platinum, you're going to get your first 3 days for just $5. So it's a great deal. If you want to check out the tools, you can get your first 3 days for $5 using promo code May Bundle when you sign up for a weekly or monthly subscription. Do keep in mind, though, if you do take advantage of this deal, it will auto renew. So if you choose a weekly deal, it's going to auto renew after those 3 days for a week, or a monthly deal, it'll auto renew for a month. So keep that in mind. You are signing up, but you can obviously cancel if you just want to check it out for 3 days. Just go in, take advantage of this deal. You could always, of course, cancel before it does auto renew. Just know that it will auto renew if you don't do anything. But yeah, you can get your first 3 days for just $5. Of course, Fantasy Cruncher not included. That is an add-on, but a really great way to check out all the tools that Adam and I are talking about every day. The top pitchers tool, the top stacks tool, really, really valuable tools. Highly recommend checking it out for 3 days, just $5 using promo code May Bundle. All right, Adam, final game of the slate. This is final game of the evening slate. So we made it through 2 full slates here. We have Houston at Seattle, JP France on the mound for the Astros, Marco Gonzalez for the Mariners. What's your level of interest in these pitchers?
Not much in Gonzalez, just not a particularly good strikeout pitcher, not a great matchup. He's pulling 1% ownership. Just doesn't look like somebody you're going to need to get to. JP France is pulling 17%. He's only 5,200. We have him with a 13.5% chance of being a top 2 scoring pitcher, in addition to a 37.5% chance of being a top 2 value. Not the best matchup against the Mariners, but not bad. At AAA this year, he started 3 games, 5 total appearances, 19 in the third innings pitched. He had 110 innings pitched at AAA last year, struck out 28% last year, 34% so far this year. The bat projects a 26% strikeout percentage going forward in the majors. So this guy does look like he has good strikeout stuff. He's in a favorable pitcher's park. He's only 5,200. Certainly interested in getting there.
Okay, and then what about the bats?
The Houston side against Gonzalez, I think, is fine, but you do get them in Seattle. You don't have. I actually like targeting against Gonzalez whenever he's in Houston because he just gives up pulled fly balls, and that's really good in Houston. But now facing Houston in Seattle, you don't get that same benefit from the park. So if you get to some Astros, I think they're fine, but only a 168 expected ISO to righties since last year for Gonzalez, and then you do get a park that's tough to hit home runs in. For the Mariners, if you're going to stack them, I think the main case is just this is a guy with no major league experience. You never really know how people are going to handle nerves and everything in their debut. So there is upside and volatility, but not the most likely spot for success.
Okay. And then how would you rank the 4 sides of the game?
France 1, Astros 2, Mariners 3, Gonzalez 4.
Really interesting question here from Wex asking who would be your, assuming you're playing Strider and cash, who would be a good SP2 for cash games on DraftKings? That's a really tough question on this slate.
My initial thought is that it might be France just to be able to maximize your spending elsewhere. I'm looking now using our projections at what we would have.
Our top projected lineup has Blake Snell.
Yeah.
Just such a tough matchup. It's like that. It's like all indications. Like he's I think our second highest projection. He's getting the second most ownership. So every metric I use says Blake Snell would be the answer. But then I'm like, do I really want to play Blake Snell in cash against the Dodgers?
So in our top 20 projected lineups on DraftKings, they all have Strider, obviously. Half of them have Snell, half of them have France. So
yep. Okay.
I think your answer is figure out if you like the France lineup construction or the Snell one better.
Okay. Yep. I think that's a good answer. All right. Adam, on the night slate, you are playing 3 stacks and a 3 max. You want to play 3 different stacks. Who are you playing?
Probably Phillies, Oakland, Braves.
3 favorite pitchers.
Strider times a million. France because he's cheap, and In tournaments, from an ownership standpoint, I think Evaldi and Gore look really interesting as the third guy. From just a top 3 pitcher standpoint, it's, I guess, Snell, if not Detmers.
Okay, and then do you have a home run pick?
Schwarber.
I was just getting to Schwarber. All right, I'll go somewhere else. All right, give me 1 second. Probably for someone from the Red Sox where I'm going to go. Yeah, I guess I could take Justin Turner. I'll go Justin Turner. All right. Any final thoughts?
To answer Ryan's FanDuel question, top stack for FanDuel probably would be going Oakland. They're second in top stack percentage at 8.5%, 5.5% ownership right now. So if that ownership holds, that is very likely where I would be going as far as top stack goes on FanDuel.
Oh, Stephen Lewis. I should have gone with Harper. Absolutely. That would have been a great home run pick after you took.
I started to say Harper, and then I said Schwarber, so I was assuming you were just going to switch to Harper.
Yeah, that would have made a lot of sense. I'll stick with Justin Turner since I said it, but yeah, Harper, that would have been a better home run pick there for sure. All right. Any final thoughts here?
Enjoy your weekend.
Enjoy your weekend. Thank you guys very much for joining. Again, please do like the video if you haven't already. We've got, I think it's Greg and Rinpack on NBA Live Before Lock in a couple hours. So make sure if you're playing some NBA DFS today, check that show out. Always good to have Rinpack on shows. I always love a good Rinpack show. And yeah, enjoy your weekend. Let's make some money. Good luck.